Dumelang, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Clement Banyatela. It's great to have you with us tonight on SABC News. On the show tonight, is South Africa's application to the ICJ seeking additional measures to be pronounced against Israel, given the developments in the Rafah border, futile. The court previously ordered Israel to do more to prevent the killing of civilians in Gaza, but it did not call for a ceasefire. In fact, it has intensified its offensive, that's Israel, on Rafah. So is approaching this court at all effective? Justice Minister Ronald Lamola joins us tonight. Also on the show, are medical aids against the National Health Insurance because they are concerned about a potential exodus of members from the schemes, which will then affect their profits, their bottom line, given how some medical aids make profits through administrators. Well, the managing director at the Board of Healthcare Funders, Dr. Katlego, Mothudi, speaks to us tonight. And then later, we'll speak to the leader of the IFP, Velenkosini Hlabisa, and UDM leader, Bantu Holomisa, as we count down to the elections. But first, my comment. Now, the battle for KZN is on. As political party campaigns intensify, we're seeing a lot of focus on KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC descended upon KZN last week with its NEC members. And I see this week we'll see the party's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, his deputy, Paul Mashatile, and even the former deputy president, David Mabuza, crisscrossing that province from tomorrow. This is what the ANC's Secretary General, Figi Lembalula, said last week when NEC members were on the ground in the province.
We are working for outright majority for the ANC. It is not given. It has never been given. Since 1994, we work for it. As you see me now, talking to people, engaging them, giving them our election paraphernalia, our T-shirts and everything, our people embrace the ANC. They've got difficulties. These people, it doesn't mean that they don't have challenges, they don't have problems. As we speak to them, they say, fix that and that. We are with the movement because that is the hope that we've got. We are not concerned about other people, we're concerned about our terrain. We want a peaceful election, and that is what we are working for. Victory is certain, but that victory, why we say it is certain, it is informed by the work we do on the ground.
So that's what the ANC said. Now, the DA's leader, John Steenhuisen, has also been dispatched to KwaZulu-Natal. The EFF held its rally there. It's also trying to consolidate its support on the ground. In fact, the party's deputy president, Floyd Shivambu, was initially deployed to the province. He has since been replaced with their Secretary General, Marshall Dlamini. So the EFF itself also realizes that just like the IFP and maybe some of the other parties, if they don't grow in KwaZulu-Natal, that may undermine their overall election performance, because there are parties who actually grew their support in the 2019 election, their support nationally because of their performance in KZN. So it makes sense that these parties are throwing everything they have on this province. The EFF's Dalim Pofu had this to say when we had him on this show a few weeks ago.
That is why, for example, people were not clear as to why, when we had our rally in KZN, well, firstly, why we had our rally in KZN, but secondly, why we insisted that we only want people from KZN. So no buses, no nothing from any other place, because we wanted to test the strength in KZN, and we were happy with what we found, because, as you know, that rally was a huge success. And I was joking with our deputy president that the first rally we ever had in KZN, I think it was in 2014 or 15, it was at Curry's Fountain. There were like a couple of hundred people there. You couldn't even call it a rally. From that to actually filling up Moses Mabhida Stadium, that's huge.
So these are the kind of resources that political parties are putting on KwaZulu-Natal. I suppose what's making it worse for the ANC, the EFF, the IFP, and perhaps even the DA is that there's a new kid on the block who is becoming a threat in KwaZulu-Natal, and that's the former president, Jacob Zuma's MK party, which polls indicate could be a serious game changer in the province. So gone are the days when KZN had two traditional parties, the ANC and the IFP, as strongholds. The MK party seems to be shaking ground. And when you look at the numbers, there are about 5.7 million registered voters in KwaZulu-Natal. That accounts for just over 20% of the country's voters' roll. So no party wants to miss out on this chunk of votes. So the question for you tonight is, how significant do you think KZN is going to be in this year's election? And which party do you think will benefit the most from this targeted focus on KwaZulu-Natal? You can send us your WhatsApp voice notes right now on 078 459 1897. Remember to give us your name and your surname as you send those voice notes. Alternatively, you can send us an X at Face the Nation SABC. Welcome back. South Africa has concluded presenting its arguments to the ICJ, requesting additional emergency measures to halt Israel's military offensive on refugee-packed Rafah. These measures are part of an ongoing case filed by South Africa at the ICJ in December last year, accusing Israel of violating the Genocide Convention during its offensive against Palestinians in Gaza. Now, the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola, joins us now via Zoom for a conversation on this. Minister, thank you so much for making time for us on Face the Nation tonight. In my understanding, this is the third application now that you bring to the ICJ, seeking, now you're seeking additional measures to be pronounced against Israel, given these developments in Rafah. What exactly are you asking the court to do?
Thank you very much, Clement, and to the viewers. We are asking the court, firstly, that it should stop or cease, order the Zionist state of Israel to cease or cease all military operations it intends to take in Rafah and the whole of Gaza, and also be ordered to implement the provisional measures that were indicated by the court in our previous applications, and also that they must be given a chance to give a report within 5 days after the order has been issued, what they've done to implement the order. This is so because there is currently a military operation by Israel to annihilate or cleanse the entire community of Palestinians in Rafah, which will displace about 1.4 million people and will be annihilating the last bastion of any refugee for Palestinian life, either medical, all hospitals that are still operating in Gaza are located in the area, or any functional kind of public service is operated in the area. So if this operation does continue, the ethnic cleansing or the annihilation of the Palestinian population in Gaza will have been completed, and there will be nothing that the court or the international community can still prevent for that area.
So the court has ordered Israel to do more to prevent the killing of civilians in Gaza already, but it did not call for a ceasefire. So is approaching this court at all effective?
Yes, it is very effective because you can see the internet. Also, it's not just to appeal to the conscious or to the collective conscience of the court, but it's also to appeal to the collective consciousness of the global population, which you will see that there has been countries across the globe after the order and also the arguments that have been presented that continue to give support to the UN bodies, even the UN itself, including students across the globe, in the US, in many parts of Europe, who are now beginning to question and to put pressure. So these court applications, while we intend to achieve also the court order that must indict the state of Israel, obviously that is what we expect, but they also play an important role in the collective conscience of the global community, which has changed since we started the court processes, and they are putting the necessary pressure And we believe that with time, we will definitely see the results.
And of course, the pressure is being put, but what you ultimately want to see is Israel also responding to what the ICJ is saying and the public pressure from other countries. But instead of heeding the call from the ICJ, what Israel has done is, in fact, intensify its offensive. And I suppose what doesn't help is that the ICJ has very little way of enforcing its orders.
Yes, that may be so. But you will remember that the state of Israel had never responded to any international multilateral body. But with the ICJ, they are coming to respond, and the globe is able to see for itself what the state of Israel is doing in its attack on Gaza, and in particular the current military operation that is ongoing in Rafah. And it is for that reason that countries, even some of their powerful friends, are also saying they should not do what they are doing, which will further give us a platform to enable the collective conscience of the globe to work on this matter, to put the necessary pressure, including the other multilateral institutions, which the matter can further be ventilated in.
Do you think it will help if the court is more direct and explicit in its orders this time around?
Yes, it will definitely order. And as you will have seen from our submission from our agent, Ambassador Madonsela, is three provisional measures that we are expecting the court to look into, very succinct, clear, direct to the point. And we believe that we have presented a plausible case for the court to indeed rule in our favor.
Israel will be responding tomorrow with their arguments. Given how urgent your petition is, how soon do you expect a ruling or some kind of directive?
We expect the ruling by next week, but as you are aware, we can't really decide for the court. When it's ready, it will. But we also expect that the state of Israel will continue the argument that they are acting in self-defense, which has already been ruled upon by the court in the war matter with the state of Israel, that that can't be any justification for genocide. So we have already preempted what we believe they will try to argue in their defense, and we have shown to the court that there are no grounds under international law and also the ruling of the courts in previous matters of this nature where the state of Israel can stand on.
All right. Justice Minister Ronald Lamola, thank you so much for making time for us on Face the Nation tonight. We are expecting Israel to respond to South Africa's arguments that were made today. They will be responding tomorrow. As the minister says, they expect, given how urgent the matter is, for that judgment or directives to be issued as soon as possible. Up next, a conversation with medical aides about their concerns about the NHI. Welcome back. Now, the Board of Healthcare Funders says it supports the concept of the National Health Insurance Bill. However, it's concerned about the limitations the bill places on medical schemes. The key objective of the NHI bill is to provide universal access to quality health care for all South Africans as enriched in the Constitution. The Board of Healthcare Funders is the largest industry association for health funders and aims to enable its members to provide access to affordable health care. Dr. Katlego Mothudi is the Managing Director of the Board of Healthcare Funders and joins us now in studio. Thank you so much, Dr. Mothudi, for making time for us. There are people who say that as the National Health Insurance is being contested as medical aids, you are against it because you're trying to protect the profit, so to speak, through the administrators, because that's how some of the medical aids make money. What do you say to that suggestion?
I think first let's examine the role that medical schemes play, especially in the South African context. Medical schemes have got about 9 million lives that they look after. And this is 9 million lives less than what the government would have to make provisions for in terms of healthcare. And the medical aid landscape is structured in a way that you have the actual schemes which take beneficiaries and members on, and then they've got these third-party service providers. The medical schemes themselves are not-for-profit entities. So there's no way that they could be driven by the notion of having profit for existence. However, we should not be blind to the issue that they do need to remain sustainable. And it's actually a legal requirement. According to the Medical Schemes Act, they must report a surplus, and not just for the scheme, but on each and every option that they actually offer.
Yeah.
So the driver here is actually to defray costs for the beneficiaries that are members of the scheme.
Yes. Are there no other medical aids that make profits through administrators?
No. The relationship between the medical schemes and administrators is that of a service provider and a client. So there is no formal relationship other than the contract that they have. So you do not have an administrator, for example, that owns a scheme. That used to be a case in the past, but when governance improved in the sector, that was something that was done away with. So medical aids are actually independent from the administrators and managed care organizations.
How are medical aids then going to be impacted by the NHI? Is it correct to suggest that once the NHI is fully implemented, medical schemes will not be able to provide cover for services that would be covered under the NHI?
Yeah, that is actually contained in Section 33 of the NOW Act that says that the minister will make a determination of when the fund is fully implemented. At that stage, then schemes will be relegated to what is called a complementary cover, meaning that they are not supposed to provide services that the fund does.
And we don't know what those services are. Does the bill clarify that?
We have no idea at the moment because I think in defense of the bill, some of the elements are still to be determined. There is a benefit advisory committee that the minister is going to establish that at some point will actually determine what benefits there are.
So what's going to happen with the rates that are charged by the medical aids? Will you be forced, for instance, to charge only prescribed NHI rates for providing health services to like the NHI users, which may be less than what the current rates are?
At the moment, it's a matter of conjecture because we don't know what services will be provided. But on the face of it, because services that would fall outside the required provision would probably be discretionary healthcare services, maybe falling under the basket of complementary care or even cosmetic care. There's the first thing. The second thing is that you will then lose members because some would actually opt to only find services within the fund. What that means is that it may become more expensive to be a member of a medical scheme. So those specific services might actually become more expensive.
What does that mean then for the sustainability of the medical aid?
And that's what concerns us. It does concern us because we believe that schemes play a vital role in terms of health service provision. And we believe that there should be an allowance for them to play a role alongside the fund. And the biggest motivation is that while the fund would be responsible for all the citizens, we know that government does not have unlimited resources. I mean, right now, even before the establishment of the fund, there is a struggle, whether you're looking from an infrastructure perspective, health workforce, etc. The government is unable to actually support all the functions that are required. But we think that if you close off any other funding, be it from schemes, be it from employers or other entities that fund healthcare, you're actually diminishing the capacity of what government can actually provide, which actually goes against what universal health cover. Exactly, it reduces access.
But the argument could be that, but we are sharing the resources both. Yes, this limited capacity within the public sector, but the private sector now opens its doors to more people that originally they were not serving.
Well, I don't think it's really sharing resources because remember, those people who are on medical schemes are actually voluntarily paying with their after-tax monies. And you could actually argue that they are subsidizing government's intention to provide services for the country. Now, what that means is that you've got 9 million people that are being served under the schemes. If you, let's say, totally abolish the schemes, you've got 9 million more people that the government has to find money for. And unfortunately, it has to be through raising taxes, and we know that we are almost at the peak of what people can actually afford. So
there is a potential that we will see an exodus of people from medical aids when NHI is fully implemented, which then speaks to whether or not those will be sustainable, the medical aids. What consequences then do you foresee?
So, and as I said earlier, because it's pure conjecture, we don't know the final product that will come out. But that is a distinct possibility. If Section 33 of the bill remains, sustainability will definitely be an issue that schemes will have to contend with.
What about the right that people have to choose how they want to access their health care? I know previously that's a concern that's been raised around the rights of South Africans that have chosen to, for instance, there are people who have chosen to have private security. There are people who have chosen to purchase, to go to private education. In this instance, it's almost like that right is being curtailed and we're saying all of you belong to this. Is that a concern you share as medical aid?
Definitely. I think that goes to the core of some of the objections that have been raised. Over and above what you are raising now, there are other constitutional rights that we think will be infringed. One, you have a right to spend your money in a manner that you actually, exactly. But while that may be a concern, the other issue is you should not have a limitation of access to services that you enjoyed previously. I think there is a case law, though it was not in healthcare, I think it was in the property area, where you cannot reduce the level of service or access that people have enjoyed in the guise of fairness. You rather lift up everybody to the same level. And I think those are some of the elements that people are complaining about from a constitutional point of view.
So I often hear sometimes the argument from government saying, well, we're not closing the doors to the people that used to have medical aids from going into private doctors, the private hospital. We're just saying we're opening the door wider so that other people can come. Because some of the concerns that have been raised is that what happens if someone goes to a public hospital and they want a particular surgery done and they have to wait 2 months for that, when in the private hospital that could be done in a couple of days. But government says, well, you can still go to the private hospital. The only difference now is that we're opening that door much wider.
Yeah, I think the challenge goes to how we manage the resources that we have. We are talking about access to facilities and also practitioners. Now, for any of these practitioners and facilities to participate in this plan, they have to be accredited, licensed, and then also contracted. And there are some people who actually argue as well that practitioners' rights to practice their craft are also infringed upon through that very process. And when you do have meager resources like we have, sometimes the limitation might not be intentional, but it becomes an eventuality where you cannot practice if you are not accredited, and as a result, a person might find it easier to find work somewhere else instead of staying around. So it's important that we must make sure that in broadening access, we make sure that we cater for everyone, whether it's practitioners, facilities, so that they are able to afford the access to the beneficiaries.
The concern is that some of those practitioners will start considering leaving the country. Therefore, we lose some of the critical skills. Already seeing the shortage of medical professionals, that's not something you want to deal with.
We already have a problem. I think some of the unions from the practitioner sides have been reporting more than 1,000 doctors not being employed while we're struggling with access. And I think this brings into the discussion another point. We focus so much on the NHI Act as if it's the panacea. for the ills that we have. We still have to find solutions for issues around health workforce. We have to find solutions for issues around medicines, etc. We haven't even spoken about issues of governance and leadership. And all those things are actually necessary when you want to reform the entire healthcare system. So the discussion needs to be broader. We understand that funding is important, but there are those even who argue that we don't really have a money problem, we have a money management problem. And we should be looking at these other issues that are critical.
And the trust deficit already exists. There are people who don't trust government that they can ring-fenced and protect those funds from being exploited. Lastly, what's your recourse? Are you considering legal action? Are you taking a wait-and-see approach?
So at the moment, I think everybody is waiting to see what the bill looks like. It hasn't been gazetted as yet. And as a result, while we would love to do a judicial review on what the bill looks like, but we have to see it first. But I think what concerns us most is maybe the level of communication that we have in there. Are people already who think that they can walk into a hospital, a private hospital, tomorrow. And I think we need to manage the communication better to say that this is going to take a long time. Despite all the legal challenges, implementation is not going to take 2 years.
Well, tell that to the political parties who are using this as a campaign tool and are trying to claim to people that as soon as after elections, you can go into Netcare, and they know very well that is not the case, but it works for their political message. Dr. Katlego Mothudi, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No, it's a pleasure.
All right, so we've been asking you the question, the battle for KZN is on. So which party do you think will benefit the most from this targeted focus on the province? Let's look at some of the tweets that have come through so far. We've got some tweets at Face the Nation SABC that are coming through. Legasa says, Lochani, Batubeketu. I think the MK party will be number 1 and the EFF will be number 2, the ANC number 3. I wish the ANC can lose KwaZulu-Natal. Hashtag SABC News. Offenser says, I think the MK party is getting KZN. We saw how popular Zuma is in that province. And of course, Opinion says he believes the MK and the EFF are the ones that will benefit the most from KwaZulu-Natal. Innocent Tusi says, at Face the Nation, I think the IFP will benefit the most at the SABC. All right, we've also asked you to send us your WhatsApp voice notes. Political parties really investing a lot in KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will be there this weekend together with his deputy, Paul Mashatile. They're also bringing in the former deputy president, David Mabuza. The EFF having held their rally there. The DA's leader, John Steenhuisen, has also been on the ground in KwaZulu-Natal, and all of this because there are about 5.7 million or so of registered voters. So no political party wants to lose out on the chunk of this vote. Let's listen to some of your WhatsApp voice notes that have come through.
Good evening, Clement and the viewers at home and your team there. My name is Mcebo Mkhize. I'm from KZN Dandi. The IFP really enjoys its campaign right now, and I think it is a walk in the park for the IFP. It's the only party in KZN actually that is enjoying its campaign. It's a walk in the park. IFP is going to take this province of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
This is Michael Raskinya from Limpopo. Indeed, I think the presence or the formation of MK, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, which have literally shown that it has a massive support in KwaZulu-Natal, is going to have a serious impact on who wins KwaZulu-Natal, which literally seems to be going to be a coalition in KwaZulu-Natal.
All right, thank you so much for your WhatsApp voice notes. Now, as elections draw closer, political parties are intensifying their election campaigns, as we've spoken about it in KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC sending President Cyril Ramaphosa, its deputy Paul Mashatile, on a campaign trail from tomorrow until Sunday. Well, the IFP and the EFF are also focusing on the province for their electoral success. The IFP and ANC co-govern the province after the political violence of the 1980s. That's what happens then until the ANC won the provincial election in 2004 and took over the reins of the provincial government. Let's speak to the IFP leader now, Velenkosini Hlabisa, who joins us now via Zoom. Mr. Hlabisa, thank you so much for making time for us. So the ANC invaded, so to speak, KwaZulu-Natal with its NEC members last week. The president and his deputy and the former deputy president are going to be there this weekend. The EFF has also been spending time in KwaZulu-Natal. How serious of a threat do you view the MK party as the IFP? Because that seems to be a political party that's shaking ground.
Thank you very much, Clement, Manyatela, and the viewers of SABC. The IFP is down on the ground, and we started to prepare for these elections immediately after 2019 national and provincial elections. So now, firstly, the arrival of the MK, indeed, at the beginning, the MK became a disruptor, that not in a negative way, but a party that shifted the ground because they became a new element. I am not sure now, looking at the battles they are fighting internally in the courts, how much time they have to be on the ground. But as the IFP, we are not threatened at all by the MK. Even the ANC, they can bring whoever. We saw former President Thabo Mbeki. We have meeting Cyril Ramaphosa on the ground. They can bring whoever they can, but it is too late for them to turn the tide of the IFP, to sweep them away from the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal.
Is it fair to say that part of the reason for your growth nationally as the IFP was your performance in KwaZulu-Natal? In other words, if you don't perform well in KZN, that compromises on your national tally of votes.
Clement Manyatel, yourself and anyone who has been following our campaign trail, the IFP has been in Free State to launch its manifesto, has been in Gauteng for its provincial launch. Last week, I was in Northwest. The day after tomorrow, on Saturday, I will be in Limpopo. 2 weeks ago, I was in Eastern Cape. So now, our performance excellently in KwaZulu-Natal will elevate our score at a national level. But we are not only counting on KwaZulu-Natal, we are counting on all 9 provinces, as we will be contesting elections nationwide and physically. We are on the ground, as I have just indicated, and the latest will be in Limpopo. And 3 weeks ago, on the 1st of May, I was launching in Mpumalanga, where we had a massive support on the ground that was demonstrated on that day.
There are election polls that suggest that KZN may see a coalition government. Have you ruled out the ANC as a possible coalition partner after elections?
You see, Clement, the IFP is working corner and corner of KwaZulu-Natal, day in and day out. We want to have a clear majority in KwaZulu-Natal. And should we not get a clear majority, we have partners in the multi-party charter with whom we are governing 13 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. That is the political grouping we will consider in forming a coalition not the ANC. The ANC destroyed our province. You can't go into a coalition with someone who destroyed the province you want to rebuild and create a stable economic background with the one who destroyed it.
My understanding is that as the IFP, you have expressed your willingness to co-govern with the ANC. In fact, Action SA leader Herman Mashaba was on this show expressing how disappointed he was that some of the MPC partners have expressed that willingness to co-govern with the ANC. Are you suggesting to us tonight that that is a false narrative? As the IFP, you have completely ruled out the possibility to work with the African National Congress?
Clement, the Honorable Herman Mashaba cannot speak on behalf of the IFP. The IFP has a clear position. We are partners with the multi-party charter political parties with whom we want to remove the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, in Gauteng, and nationally, so that we bring a fresh start to our country. All our efforts are put behind the drive to get a new government that will bring change and restore progress in our country. Should the multi-party charter is unable to get 50% plus one, the multi-party charter will need to go to the drawing board. Firstly, there are independent candidates. There are other political parties other than the ANC who are like-minded to the parties in the multi-party charter, but who could not join because they want to secure their identity. So now, what Babu Mashaba said is not the view of the IFP.
What is your message to potential voters? Why should they consider the IFP when they go to the polls on the 29th of May? What are you promising them?
I want to make a clarion call to the 27.6 million South Africans and above that to the 14 million dormant voters that 29 May is a decisive day and an opportunity for the people of South Africa to bring change. I have been crossing the country throughout 9 provinces. Whoever I meet says we want change. The IFP promises something different. We don't make an empty promise. The promise we give is our commitment. The 13-point plan: 1, we will provide jobs. We will end load shedding completely as it is coming back after elections. We will create a safer community for our women, children, by ensuring that police stations are built in all violent and crime hotspots. We will equip the police stations with sufficient manpower and resources. We will deal with corruption once and for all. All those who benefited unfairly will be properly prosecuted, and the assets forfeiture unit will have to confiscate what belonged to the people of South Africa. Health, education will receive our top priority because we believe in quality health and quality education. If you want to rebuild the society of our country, roads, railway systems will be our priority. We will ensure that South Africa belongs to the South Africans, the foreign nationals. We are against xenophobia, but the foreign nationals whom we do not need, as they don't have special skills, will have to be assisted to go back so that every job in the restaurant, the Uber driving, trucks, construction industry are occupied by the people of South Africans. Yes, political asylum people and those with special skills will go through a process of transferring skills to people of South Africa over a period of 5 years or 6 years, and thereafter they will have to leave and allow South Africans to work.
Velenkosini Hlabisa, the leader of the IFP, thank you so much for making time for us. Now, Bantu Holomisa, the leader of the UDM, has suggested the formation of a government of provincial unity in the Eastern Cape after the general elections. Holomisa has also emphasized the failures of the ANC-led government over the past 30 years of democracy and expressed the party's desire to restore the province to its rightful place as the home of the legends it once was. Holomisa joins us in studio tonight. General Holomisa, thank you so much for making time. Welcome to Face the Nation.
Thank you very much, Clemens.
You're shifting gears now. You're vying for the premier seat in the Eastern Cape. What informed your decision?
The United Democratic Movement was approached by the people of the Eastern Cape, which includes traditional leaders, religious groupings, business people, and so on and so on. And we received this endorsement from the Eastern Cape UDM structures as well. So then it was tabled at our National Executive Committee, and we said, okay, late as it is, let's go there. The reason why the people invited Holomisa or are inviting Holomisa, they say, during the time you were in charge of Transkei, at least we slept peacefully. During your time in Transkei, we didn't have stock theft. We didn't have people violating our rights. And everybody during that time, they say you used to employ both the educated and uneducated through various skills, and also the factories which used to create jobs. ANC closed them down after 1994. And those people were getting better jobs and maintaining our government buildings, schools, roads. Those people were told that they must go back home and the tender system would replace them.
So they want you back.
They are citing that as, when they see me, they say, hey, this is the person who can rescue us.
Okay. Now, how do you think you can attain that as the UDM, given your current support base? Do you think you can get an overwhelming majority?
This is where you people miss it out. Read what I said. The main issue here, if we want to be honest to ourselves, we need a government of national unity at national level or coalition. Let's cascade that to provincial levels so that we improve the checks and balances on the spot. And this is a way of fighting corruption, among others, and also to resist the deployment of people who have no clue of what they are talking about. Our municipalities, even here in Johannesburg, we used to come here in Joburg many years ago, but it's a slum today. Go to Mtada, it's a slum. Go to Mabato, you are received by potholes all over the country. That cannot be a right thing, that the freedom of the people is going to reverse the gains of the same black people you claim to be leading.
The challenge, though, General, is that we haven't seen the maturity coming from political parties at a coalition level. So it is well-intentioned to have a government of national unity, even at provincial level, but are our politicians mature enough to sit down, put their differences aside, and put the interests of South Africans first?
We do have a precedence here. During the time of government of national unity, each party came up with good people. So if you are a president, you put the rules and regulations as to what kind of caliber you want as a cabinet minister. Not these knicker-booms you are seeing today. Some of them are not ashamed to even boast about using state resources. We need to make sure that coalition or government of national unity, you send people of quality. In this country, we are fortunate because we are endowed with human resources. And in each party, you will get a good person.
Do you think your time is up in the National Assembly? I mean, there are people who see you as an effective opposition leader. I mean, it's because of you that there are issues at the PIC that have been brought to the fore. You brought the case around secret ballot to court. The Speaker of Parliament now doesn't have a job. You are the one that brought in the claims and the allegations that she is now facing in court. Do you feel that you've done your part?
We also stopped the Takatso deal with SAA. We also led many in this country when we said you cannot apply load shedding in hospitals and police stations and schools. Yes, we will continue to play that role, irrespective, even if I was deployed to be a mayor. The party, holistically, we will say, this month, this is what we are going to tackle. So I'm not worried about I will not be in the House. But if, of course, I don't succeed in this call by the people of Eastern Cape, I will be in National Assembly. But irrespective, whether National Assembly or provincial, the melody will continue.
Is the UDM, when you look at the performance of the party now, do you think that the UDM is in its last days, or do you think the party is still quite a strong force on the ground?
You have just commended the UDM of what it has done. It's the time now that we should be rewarded. Because when I mentioned the word corruption, you will remember in 1995, 96, I was shown the door by the ANC. But today I'm celebrating. I just opened a glass of wine and watch TV and laugh, because the comrades is like we are in a stage where one can describe and say it's a dog-eat-dog situation. The comrades are fighting amongst themselves. The common name or denominator is the word corruption.
So you're sipping wine at home?
I know UTM isn't. We're enjoying because we've been vindicated. Even Zondo Commission made it easy for us to say these comrades, including their party, are the real state capturers.
What would you say are the promises that the UDM is making to the electorate? Why should people watching us now give the UDM a chance on the 29th of May?
I think the first thing which we must look at is that the population of South Africa seems to be detached, or the government is detached from the people. Hence, you will see that every day, there's no guarantee if you, for instance, you live here in Joburg, you want to go and catch your flight, you will arrive on time. Precisely because you will see people blocking the roads, complaining. That is what is happening throughout the country. Therefore, the first thing is we must make sure that the government is closer to the people. In other words, if somebody writes a letter to Minister X or DG, that individual, people must respond to it and attend to that problem. Currently, we don't enjoy that. So that's point number one. Number two is that let us please follow the merit when we appoint people for DGs downwards. And secondly, we need to train them, and then we must also have promotion policies. And out of that, you look at the law enforcement agencies, and also the criminal justice system, where it includes the NPA. The police will arrest people. They will finish the investigation. The NPA takes its time to finalize those dockets. Where it becomes worse is when the case is in court, and you will find that the courts will postpone that case. The state is not ready. or there are lawyers who are traveling throughout this South Africa, whose duty is to go take money from their clients, and after that they postpone cases. So we need to check up. And lastly, the judiciary, I hope we can succeed in convincing people. I think the Chief Justice should be given his budget or her budget, and that budget will include training of the prosecutors, including judges, and that they must not be under a Minister of Justice, but they should report directly to Parliament if there is a need to so, but not a political head is needed there. That's precisely why there's accusation that some people are being harassed because of political intervention. Others are not charged.
Yeah. Are you planning to stand down as leader of the UDM at your next conference? Are you not tired? You've been a leader since 1997.
Okay, I can do that, but those political dinosaurs who are at Union Building, they must leave first. Then come back to me and say, Holomisa, when are you leaving?
Yeah.
But as long as they are still there, you have a minister who is the Minister of Youth. How old is he? 80-something or 90?
Minister of what?
Minister of Youth and Women. Those are political dinosaurs. Why you guys are so obsessed about Holomisa? I've done my job.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. And what is going to happen now is that Kwankwa, if I'm in the Eastern Cape, he will be a de facto president. We have the Secretary General who is 35 years old, and also many councillors in the Eastern Cape. Those are students, graduates from different institutions. So I'm okay. Don't worry. In Gauteng, it's the youth. You have seen them in social media. We're doing very well. But if the structures of the party called UDM one day will say, Mr. Holomisa, thank you very much, or I feel that health-wise, I am no longer ready to bet on. But make no mistake, I've occupied the crease since 1999, and we have hit them for 6s and 4s. So what more do you want?
General Bantu Holomisa, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you.
All right, let's wrap up with some of the comments coming through on WhatsApp and on Twitter. The question we've been asking you tonight is around the battle that is on for KwaZulu-Natal. Which party do you think will benefit the most from this targeted focus on the province? Your tweets, Colin says, Clement, there's no doubt that the MK party is going to reduce the ANC and IFP dominance. However, the EFF is putting more resources in KwaZulu-Natal and is yielding results. I see the EFF and the MK party joining up together to make up more than 50% plus one. Wow. Dominic says, at Face the Nation, obviously MK, considering that they are starting from 0%.
Regard to KZN, I think none of the political parties are going to get an outright majority. We should be anticipating coalition government in KZN. So the underdogs here, it's going to be IFP. Thank you.
And thank you for your tweets, thank you for your WhatsApps, thank you for interacting with us tonight on Face the Nation. This is how we wrap it up. We'll be back on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Cheers.